And the last thing we're going to be touching today is we have a listener question pulled from the Patreon questions. We have David Cabal, listener of the podcast, fan of the podcast, and he asks, what do you guys think Hasbro will do after the Prime Wars trilogy? Implying after we're done with Power of the Primes. Do you think they will do Beast Wars stuff? If so, do you think that they'll stop doing vehicles if they do Beast Wars stuff? I personally would love it if they did a G1 style Springer, but not in the sense like the Nick Roche style that they did previously. I guess he's referring to the Generations Springer that we got in the Voyager scale, which was indeed done in the more Nick Roche Last Stand of the Wreckers style. So to answer his question, I do kind of see it possibly going towards Beast Wars. I mean, you kind of look at what Power of the Primes is covering, which is Pretender Shells, Power Masters. The gradual progression, I mean, when you look at what's left from the G1 span of things, would be Target Masters, Micro Masters, and Action Masters. You know, that's literally what's kind of left at that point. Unless you count like weird stuff, you know, like the weird subline stuff like Duo Cons and Trigger Cons and stuff like that, and Trigger Bots. But in general, the big gimmicks of each passing line, you really just have kind of Action Masters, Micro Masters, and stuff like that. I can't imagine Micro Masters being a big part of it, with mini cons being something in the recent consciousness. Like even the term Micro Masters, I feel, is something Hasbro probably has abandoned at this point. I mean, the only reason why I think they even used Micro Masters as a term was just because of Micro Machines' popularity.
Yeah, pretty much.
Where now it's like, I feel like every single small Transformer is just called a mini-con at this point. So even if they don't do what a traditional mini-con does do from its designation. So, I mean, I could see Beast Wars. But the second part of it, what he asks is, would they stop doing vehicles? I don't think so. I don't think they would shoot themselves in the foot in the sense, as much as I love Beast Wars, and if they did an all Beast Wars line, I personally wouldn't complain. I think that they wouldn't just cut off one group of the fandom. I mean, it's the same way.
I don't think they would do a Machine Wars, kind of thing.
Nah, I think it's more that I think whatever the next generation's Classics S kind of line is, even if it's primarily Beast Wars, they'll still give us vehicle stuff, because it's the same way how during Classics and Generations and Universe 2.0 they would throw us a Cheetor, a Dinobot. They would throw us an Armada character, a Beast Machines character. So there's never a rule whenever they do these. I mean, the whole point of the Generations line, the Classics line, is that it's celebrating the entire span of the brand. Yeah. And there's never a rule. Like, I mean, even what we had discussed not too long ago with all the leaks, we have Dinobots, which are Generation 1, 84, 85, but then we have Master Force. Mm-hmm. But then we have, Predaking from 86, 87. But then we have, a Unicronus Rodimus, which really isn't anything. It's just kind of an E-Hobby repaint, and that's about it in terms of like where it's pulling from. And then we have Ginrai, which again is Master Force. So it's kind of pulling from all over the place on that side of the thing. So I mean, even if we had a Beast, like if the next thing was the Beast Wars or something, mm-hmm. I could still see it being like, hey, we're going to get a whole bunch of Beast Wars guys, but then they'll throw us still G1 guys, or hey, that Pretender Shell we didn't get to do. Because look, hey, what, even if they have Beast Wars, what are they going to do with that small Legends price point? What are they going to do with that Titan Master price point? They're still going to want to do something with it, and I don't really see many Transformer Beast Wars stuff working in that price point. Like there's not much you could do with that. I mean, in terms of like, oh, you got Rat Trap and some of those, even the regular scale Beast Wars toys. You could think of the smallest Beast Wars toys you could think of outside of Microverse, obviously. Mm-hmm. And it wouldn't fit in that price point. So they'll still need to have mini bots. They'll still need to throw in a Cosmos once in a while, or a Beachcomber, or whatever. You know what I mean? Like they'll do something to just fill that gap. where Beast Wars will just be the more larger scales of same thing. How many things could you do with a liter scale with Beast Wars?
Yeah, it's true.
After you do an Optimal Optimus, which we already have one coming supposedly, after you do an Optimal Optimus and a Megatron and Depth Charge and Rampage, Tripredacus and Magnaboss, after you get those big guys out of the way, there's not much that you could really consider unless you're doing,
Beast Wars Neo, Beast Wars Second.
Yeah, exactly. Probably. You're right. Like unless you're jumping into that category, and we've yet to have Piranacons done officially from Combiner Wars, and the only reason why I bring that up is because Piranacon repainted is God Neptune in Beast Wars Second. So I could see Beast Wars being the next thing, but I don't think that they'll just completely abandon vehicles, because there's always a place for G1, and G1 is still the collective consciousness of the brand, unless, the Bay movies or whatever the future live action movies, if they go in that artistic direction and go towards Beast Wars, then maybe they'll want to focus on that. It's hard to say. Mm-hmm. He mentions that he'd love to see a G1 style Springer. I would love one too. Personally, Springer has always been a personal favorite character of mine. Right now, there's a really good G1 style Springer from Third Party in the Masterpiece scale. Mm-hmm. But just, I agree with...
You know what? Then that means one's coming.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. Totally. But
totally that means one's coming.
But that being said, I don't see them doing one anytime soon, because there's always, again, you could do triple changers, but there's always the complexity of what you got to do with them. Mm-hmm. And I mean, they've done so much with that Octane, turning it into Optimus Prime, and
right,
so I think right now they don't want to jump back into triple changers, because then they have to then jump back into then doing stuff with them again and making multiple characters from a limited design. Another thing too was they were lucky, because these triple changers that we've gotten recently were all Titan Masters.
Right.
Meaning that it's very easy to swap the heads on those and do other characters. Very easy. Where the Springer that you probably want won't be a Titan Master, so that also puts Hasbro and Takara in kind of a corner with what they have to do. It paints them into a corner of a situation where they're like, well, we're going to have to retool a new head. Again, you look at that generation Springer and how it had to be retooled so much to get that Sandstorm. Do they really want to have to do something like that again? When we looked at Octane and Astro Train and Blitzwing and so much that the mileage they got out of those molds just swapping heads.
Yeah.
And getting a Megatron out of it, getting an Optimus out of it, and and putting them in box sets and selling them individually and stuff like that. So, I mean, I think we'd sooner get a masterpiece, like Wendell said. We'd sooner get a masterpiece, G1 style, Fluoro Deary, 86 movie season 3 Springer, before I think we'll get something more of that classics design. I mean, the funny thing is there was the what were they called? The the Transformers that had the swappable parts. I did a review with Rodimus. What are they called? The Hero Mashers. The Hero Masher Transformers. They did a Springer of that, which was actually more in tune of that style that David here is asking for. But again, it doesn't transform. It's just the swappable parts and stuff. I mean, you could get that in the meantime. That could be your stand-in. But
want to hear my stance?
What's up?
My predictions.
Here we go. He pulled out the crystal ball again.
Crystal ball. They'll still keep the classics going, whatever name they name it now. They'll probably do Beast Wars stuff, but I think they're gonna want a bigger challenge. They're gonna bring out all the stops and celebrate the anniversary of Animorphs. That's what they're gonna do.
Oh God!
They're gonna go all out and show you this is what we've been learning. We're gonna take everything we've learned and put it to Animorphs.
It's like coming to SDCC 2018, Titan class Tobias.
It's all in your hands.
It's a 1-to-1 scale hawk that you could attach to your arm that transforms into a 1-to-1 scale Spanish kid. I think he was Spanish. I'm not too sure.
I can't remember.
Yeah, but
I don't think
I don't know.
I don't know.
Tobias.
Don't quote me on anything on that.
I don't even think they have the patent to that anymore. Like because I think Scholastics own the rights to those books.
Yeah,
you
they
know,
do.
so,
Like Scholastic owns the right to the books, but I feel like they're gonna go all the way left and like, okay, Beast Wars. No, we're gonna go all the way
you know what? You
humans,
know, hold
humans
on a
to
second,
animals.
because the sad thing is I have a near complete Animorphs collection, and
Because you're weird.
because I'm crazy. And the amazing thing is I got those so cheap that I have actually some of the mint in box, and they're actually within reach. Just give me one moment. I'm just going to try to stretch the wire here. Okay.
You
so
need Jesus.
yeah. So the back of the Voyager Animorph boxes, Scholastics has its logo right on there.
Yeah.
And it says here, watch Animorphs on Nickelodeon. Oh, God. Hasbro, how far have we fallen?
No, remember they would go to the net cafe and play the big game that all the kids were playing at the time, which was the Beast Wars.
The Beast
Won
Wars game. Yeah, from Hasbro Interactive, which was terrible.
On PC somehow when it was a PlayStation 1 exclusive.
No, it was
I think?
also a PC game.
Okay, my bad.
It was all the funny thing is with oh man, we're going off on a tangent here, but the funny thing is that game, when it was first being hyped up, it was hyped up as a PC game, and they were really hyping it up with its online play where you could do like a multiplayer deathmatch thing. All of that stuff never really came to fruition, and it sucks because like at the time in the fandom back in like 97, 98, a lot of us who were like in the role play mush aspect of the fandom, we were really hyped about this because then that was like this online world that we could plunk in and play, and none of that ever really came to be. And of course the PlayStation version came out, and that was the more accessible one, and it was absolutely terrible, had terrible voice acting, and it was a very unplayable game. But anyways, enough about that. Like look what you did, David.
That's what I think.
David, you made us talking about that terrible Beast Wars game.
So yeah, well, I had to bring it back to Transformers somehow and Beast Wars. But yeah, that's what I goofily think they're going to do. They're going to want to challenge. They're going to want to flex their muscles and show off that, we got this. We know what we're doing.
So here's what's going to happen next week. We're going to get on TFW 2005's front page that some new patents have shown up for Animorphs under the Hasbro brand. At HasCon the following month, we're going to have a glass case of all the Animorph toys, and then the old actors are going to be there as guests from the Nickelodeon show or the YTV show, alternatively.
They're going to be masterpiece Animorph toys.
And then at that point, that's when I shake down Wendell for the lotto numbers. And then you'll never hear from us ever again.
I can't do that.
You'll never hear from us ever again because we're going to buy an island in the middle of nowhere.
No, I
that'll
swear
have no
no,
internet.
if I can't do that,
And we're just going to enjoy our lives and our Transformers from our private island, or as I like to call it, Danaweda Island.
Oh, God. Okay, stop.
Yeah. It's like, no, okay, stop. It's already dead. It's already dead.
Oh, it's already coming true.
That's more or less the question. Thanks, David Cabal, for the listener question. Hope that answers your inquiry.